Hello and welcome back to Israel with Aline. Today we will go together to the Dead Sea region to see amazing phenomena that are happening there and see with our own eyes the great changes that have happened in the last months, even in the last days. And we will show unprecedented phenomena never seen on this and any other channel related to the possible fulfillment of the prophecy of Ezekiel 47. And we will do this accompanied by the Caravan Israel with Aline and Shlomi Lubaton. So if you're ready, let's get started. Hello everyone, today we are here with the Israel Caravan with Aline and Shlomi Lubaton. Now together we are going to do the Bolanis tour. And we are going to see the Bolanis, we are going to see the fish, we are going to see everything really with our own eyes. And also see the changes that are happening here. Because since I made my video a little over a year ago, a lot has really changed. So there is a lot that is different from how you saw it in the video. And today we are really going to see what has changed. The Bolanis are craters that are appearing next to the Dead Sea due to its lowering level. And many believe that they are connected to the fulfillment of the biblical prophecy of Ezekiel 47. We know that the Dead Sea is receding. The question is, how much is it lowering? Are you seeing where the Dead Sea is these days? The Dead Sea was 7 meters above where we are now. So think where we are plus 7 meters. All of this is what the Dead Sea has descended in the last 100 years. Its pace these days is about 1 meter per year that it continues to descend. So we are really talking about a gigantic difference. And because of that, if we were to come here during the British era, we could go here, bathe in the Dead Sea here. Today, reaching the Dead Sea requires a long descent. And precisely the retreat of the Dead Sea is part of what's happening with the sinkholes, which we will get to know better down there. But now we are really going to start our journey. Look at the size of this thicket. I mean, we are in front of the Dead Sea, a few meters from it. We are seeing here the super tall vegetation, and we are seeing sinkholes here on our side. You can see that there is a very large sinkhole there full of water, and there is a very small one here which is just beginning to form, and in this small sinkhole is where we are going now. Let's go! Why are we here today? There are so many beautiful places in Israel to visit, and our caravan just chose to come to the Dead Sea to visit this place. Why? We know according to the Bible in Genesis it is written that all this area here was a green, beautiful zone. The Bible compares this place to the Lord's garden, the Garden of Eden, like the fertile land of Egypt. And when we get here, at least until 20-30 years ago, what we saw was this. Earth, clay, mud, extreme heat. There is absolutely nothing. All this area was green, and suddenly we get here and see that this area is not green. Yes, this area is destroyed. Why? Because here there were 5 cities that sinned in the eyes of the Lord. God destroys these 5 cities. Not only the city itself where people lived, but the whole region becomes desolate. But 2,600 years ago, when the prophet Ezekiel lived, he makes a great prophecy. He says that this region will transform in the future. And he doesn't identify himself. This here will be green again. But rather, he goes into many details of how this will happen. Then he told me, these waters go out to the eastern region and go down to the desert and enter the Dead Sea. And being taken to the sea, the waters will become healthy. And will it be that every living creature that passes wherever these rivers enter will live? And there will be a lot of fish, because these waters will arrive there, and they will be healthy. and everything will live wherever this river enters. Will it also be that the fishermen will stand by it? From En-Gedi to En-Eglaim, will there be a place to spread the nets? Will its fish, according to its kind, be like the fish of the great sea, in excessive multitude? But will its ponds and its marshes not become healthy? Will they be left for salt? And by the river, on its bank, on one side and the other, all kinds of trees that bear fruit to eat will grow. Its leaf will not fall, nor will its fruit end. In its months it will produce new fruits, because its waters come from the sanctuary, and its fruit will serve as food, and its leaf as medicine. It is a great prophecy full of details. First, the water will come from Jerusalem. And the water that arrives sweet in this region, which we are seeing and which we will explain a little more, where is it coming from? From Jerusalem. They say there will be a huge amount of trees, plants, and we get here, folks, compare my height with these plants. And you can see that there are different species. And among these species, there are also fruit trees. Among them, date palms. What Shlomi brought for us to try today are dates that grow here in the Dead Sea region. So I'm going to start with one. Here, as you can see, a lot of vegetation has started to grow, among them edible plants and fruits, like the malwar and the date palms. And the prophecy also speaks of medicinal plants, and that is also happening. Scientists from the Arava Institute are researching a possible cure for cancer with species that grow here, like the Lanat Amidbar, the Hilea rehanit, and the Karvan Matsui. So who knows, a future cancer treatment will be created right here in the desert. So now that we've heard this prophecy, we really want to see all this in practice. That's why Shlomi Lubaton is here with us to explain. And I want you to show us this greenhouse.
A few months ago, everything here was completely barren. There was nothing here.
2 months ago, all this was land. There was absolutely nothing here. What happened 2 months ago that opened this up here, that we are seeing, and it started to fill with water? And the water that we are seeing here is fresh, and there are fish here that are about this size. Let me tell you about the experience I had when I first came here, with Shlomi, when I first came here. Guys, we parked the car up there, the Jeep. We did all this walk that we did, and we walked here for more than an hour in that direction to get to the big pools where there are fish. So originally we had to walk a lot to get to the pools of fish, and the pools that were here, there were already some, not this specific one. But there were some, but they were all salt water, lifeless, and suddenly here a new pool appeared with water. And this shows us that the phenomenon that is happening here with the pools, it has not finished happening. The pools continue to open. Every day there are 2 new pools. Every day 2 new pools are added, totaling 9,600 pools so far. And every day new ones open. So new pools open, some of them fill with water, and some of them are filling up with fish. So it's not just one or another pool, but more and more. This pool is different from all the others we had seen so far. For one reason, that this pool is not a round crater like the others we will see. But this pool is like a river, and this river goes inside and it goes to the Dead Sea. And this pool, this water, it enters the Dead Sea. Now the Dead Sea is extremely salty, and the salty water is denser. So what happens is that this fresh water, when it enters the Dead Sea, it stays on top of the other water. So you have fresh water on top and salty water below. This means that the fish from this pool, they can enter the Dead Sea and swim a little. So there are fish swimming at the beginning of the Dead Sea, where this water can reach and float on the saltier water. Obviously, if they leave it, they can no longer live. But the fish that are here, yes, we can see them at the beginning of the Dead Sea also swimming in it. Where did the fish come from? Biologists believe that someone is moving the fish from one pool to another. Are precisely the birds. And we can see here that there are a lot of birds, so they come to eat the fish, to eat the plants, and they end up unintentionally carrying the fish eggs from one pool to another. But how do they get to the pools? Scientists aren't sure. And let's look at these famous fish together now. I want you to see with your own eyes. And you can already see the first ones here among these plants. You can see that they are really small, but just the fact that we are in the middle of the desert, next to the region of Sodom and Gomorrah, in a completely desolate region. And here, first thing, to have water, even more fresh water, considering that we are next to the Dead Sea. Inside this fresh water, plants are growing and fish have arrived here. So despite their small size, just the fact that there are fish here is extremely surprising, and even scientists don't have an explanation for this phenomenon yet. But this is just the beginning of everything we're going to see here today. We're going in, folks, into the mud. Let's go. We're going to cross our first river now. This river here is fresh water. To know if the place has fresh or salt water is quite simple. Look where vegetation is growing. Where there is vegetation, it means it is fresh water. And this here is the water. It connects to the fish where we saw before. If you see it, is right behind this thicket. So the fish can come here with this water and they enter the Dead Sea. And as we already mentioned that fresh water is lighter or less dense, they can swim a bit inside the Dead Sea and return. Well, and if they don't return, they just stay there. This one here is a bolane that hasn't fully opened yet. You started to see that the land began to give way. And in the next few days, in the next few weeks, this will collapse much more. And if it reaches sufficient depth, it will also fill up with water. So this here is a pre-bolane that we are seeing. This zone continues to be modified all the time. When I come here, and I come back after a month, I come back after 6 months, the landscape is completely different. Everything we've seen so far, it practically didn't exist. When I made my first video on the channel about the bolanes, and here we are seeing that it continues in a constant process of formation and modification. So when we talk about prophecies, we are perhaps talking about the beginning of the fulfillment of prophecies, but it is very difficult for us without the prophetic gift to really understand what this place will look like maybe 5, 10 or 20 years from now. For example, this bolane, and here it is tiny, so we can perfectly see its shape. I mean, it is round and it is still dry. I mean, this is a new bolane that just emerged and still does not have water. Maybe if we come back here in 1, 2, 3 months, maybe it will fill with water. Look at the color of this water. This bolane that we are next to, beautiful and wonderful, it is salt water. So not all bolanes are fresh water. So for example, here it is extremely salty water, and that's why there are no fish inside it, but it also keeps opening. You can see the cracks in the earth, meaning in a few days, a few weeks, when it comes, it will be much larger, and it will probably join the Dead Sea, which is right next door. We can see here the fresh water and a lot of vegetation, and this type of vegetation is very similar to the vegetation that is in the Nile River, and this is probably what the Nile River looked like when Moses' mother put him in the basket. And it's interesting that when the Bible talks about this region before the destruction, the Bible compares it exactly with the area of Egypt. We can also see here that the landscape really starts to look alike. We can see there that there is a hole in the ground that is flowing water. And that is a freshwater spring, which gets water in an underground way. Where does this water come from? From the Jerusalem area precisely. The water from Jerusalem flows underground and springs up here.
Look at that Brazil, Israel, Israel, Brazil flag. Look at that.
Wanda! Hi, brother. I want you to go into the mud, into the fresh water.
Here. We are now going to take off our shoes, take off everything so we can go into the water. We are now literally stepping into the mud. I'm here stuck in a mud bowl. I'm trying to get into it and it's hard. And when I was about to step in, I noticed these bubbles here. Can you see that there are literally bubbles forming here in the water? This is a freshwater spring inside the swamp. This spring, the waters come underground in the direction of Jerusalem, and they fill this swamp. That's why around us we can see all this vegetation, birds and fish that are coming here. Besides us here also swimming. I'm now going to cross to the other side. Guys, we are now inside the swamp together and it's really indescribable to be here for several reasons. First, we are in a landscape that is unlike any other in the world, but also knowing that all of this is part of something much bigger, something also connected to the prophecy of Ezekiel, which was written 2,600 years ago, something written so long ago. We can see it here. Starting to materialize. We will really have to wait for the next few years to see the evolution, because we see that all the time things keep changing and happening. In the little space of time that we have already spent here, we saw fish, we saw plants, we saw fruits, we saw new bubbles emerging, and now we are on the waves of the puddles. And they're apples, and hey guys, what do you think? Wonderful! But now we're going to get out of the water together, or at least I'll try. The prophecy says it's the 47. It says that this region will have life, fish and fishermen. And indeed the Bolan we're swimming in has fish. But the prophecy also says that the puddles and mud flats will remain here. And when we try to get out, that's when we realize how much mud this place has. So I'm going to try to get out. No, Pastor. And so there is a difficulty to get in here precisely because everything is made of mud. But it's worth it. We are seeing here the freshwater river that comes from Bolan, where we were swimming now, and it enters the Dead Sea. And the fresh water from Bolan, it floats over the saltier water. So here we have a freshwater zone within the Dead Sea. And this zone, also fish can enter and stay here, obviously without straying the bottom. But here then is a zone that some fish can enter the Dead Sea. And again, the marmot is not freshwater, but it has freshwater entering and fish accompanying along. This again ties into the prophecy in Ezekiel 47.
Now the next is to crawl in the caves of Sodom.
Did you enjoy the Bolognese, right?
Yes.
Shall we go back to Lama? Let's go.
Let's go, now.
So guys, I hope you enjoyed the tour of the day of today. Many thanks to Shlomi Lubaton, who brings us all our adventures here. So thank you all very much.